Before we begin reviewing the pens themselves, I would like to discuss the book I'm going to be keeping my reports in, I guess we could say. Gina Aaron's a friend of mine. She's doing a book just like this where she's comparing her watercolor brands and doing swatches with them. So we came up with this great idea called the Product Review Swatch Book. Well, hers says watercolor and mine says pencils and pens for coloring. This particular book for me will be all about the different types of pens that I use for coloring, pencils, and how they compare amongst the different brands that I have in my possession. And so I've set this book up specifically for that. Now, there are many other applications that pens and pencils can be used under, but I won't necessarily have them in here because for me, this is for coloring and not all ways they can work, if that makes sense. Okay, so my categories, now if you want to make a book like this for products of your own that you want to check out, obviously you make as many categories as you feel is necessary for your purposes. Okay, so I have a section for cardstock because we oftentimes will print things out on cardstock to color, and this is just a generic, well, not really generic. Let me grab the packet real quick. This is Coordination's Premium Solid Die Core Great White Cardstock, okay? And I do believe this was from one of the box hobby stores that you can get cardstock from. And so I just got a few pieces of that. Let me turn this the other way. So I've created a chart. This particular chart will be for fine tip, which is what we're going to be discussing today. So I've got a section here for the name of the company product that I'm going to be talking about. And I'm not going to swatch out every single color that they have in their set. Alright? What I'm going to do is just do a general rainbow assortment. So we've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then I'm going to add the black. And the reason I added black was because as you're coloring, and as I noticed that when I was doing my initial swatch of the pens as I got them, not everyone's black is the same. Some of them come off with a more blue tone to them, and so I think that's important to include that. And a lot of people like to use the black pens just for doodling in particular, so that's why we have black on the list. What this will also be good for is to check bleed through on, cardstock weight. The next thing I have says marker. Now, marker is this Canson XL paper. This particular paper is semi-transparent, very smooth. It's 18-pound paper, 70 gram. This is paper specifically made for marker use. So because I had some of this for other purposes, I thought, well, this would be a good paper to put in there so we can see how well the pens work on this. Because while I use it for coloring, a lot of the times people will use the pen to draw pictures that aren't already done by someone else. Same chart on this paper. This does not apply specifically to these pens today, but I do have a watercolor section. Now that section will be specifically for pencils and pens that can be activated and used with water spread around, like watercolor pencils. Ink Tints is another brand. And that particular paper used in that section is also Canson, and it's the watercolor paper, 140 pound, and it has a slight texture to it on one side and it's smoother on the back, so that will give us a good idea. This is a cold press. Blendability, this will come later. I don't have papers in here at the moment because I haven't decided which ones I want to use. This is going to be more for like Spectrum Noir and that kind of stuff, the alcohol markers, Sharpies, Bics. You can blend those, so we're going to have that in there. Color page. I've taken a couple of sheets out of a couple of my coloring books and I've chopped them up into grids, not really grids, but into sections. That way I can have a portion of one brand here and another brand here near each other so that you can see. And by having them cut up, you can actually get the colors closer to each other and compare how they look as far as, does the red the same, and then you can flip over and see what the bleed through is. And I did write on here somewhere what these came out of. I think it was on this one. Alright, this is the Art Therapy Mandala and More by Hindler. I'll have to look that up again, but that's from that one. And then this one here with this more in-depth looking stuff, which is what we're going to be using today with these tiny pens. This is from Whimsical Designs, and this is Skyhorse Publications, if you want to look into those books. And I felt it was best just to use a pocket for that. And then the last page, which we also won't be worrying about today, is labeled as black. I'm going to be putting some black paper back here, so when I actually get into the gel pens comparisons, we can see how well they work on black paper. Some gel pens kind of blend into the black, don't really show their colors really well. Some of them actually sit on top of the paper really nice and create a really great contrast. So I think that's important to see, because there's a lot of companies out who are, Dilutions in particular, who are putting books out that have black paper. So of course we want to see how that works. Alright, to start off with, let me get my pages open that I've pulled up off of Amazon. What I've done is I've looked up both of these pens sets on Amazon and found how much they cost. This is not, and I will put links in the description box below, links to these two pen products. You are not obligated to go buy them from there, just for your reference. And if you do want to buy them from there, go ahead and click it and buy it and add it to your collection. On Amazon, now granted I have Amazon Prime, so I get free shipping on majority of the things that I purchase. Every now and then you do have something that you will still have to pay shipping on, but the Maped Graph Peps on Amazon for my price says they are $15.90 for the set of 20. Alright? The other product that we're going to compare them to today is the Staedtlers. These ones I've had for a while. Oh, by the way, Staedtler I purchased. Maped was provided to me for review. The Staedtlers on Amazon for the same size set are $20.90. So these ones here are a better value. So let's see how well they work in comparison. Now, since I already have Maped written on here, we're going to start with them. One thing I like initially about their packaging is that they are stacked so that your package fits better into something else. So what I mean by that is, say this pouch, I could fit this in this pouch and, you know, have a little pad of coloring paper or something in there, while this one will not, because obviously it's twice the size this way. So this packaging I think is really nice. Inside the plastic flippy you have a nice set of tray that your pens slide in and out of to keep them nice and organized. So the first one on our list is red, so we'll get that out. Now let me get the red out for Staedtler real quick so you can see the tip size. Alright, as you can see, hopefully, the tips are pretty much the same as far as their size is concerned. Okay? Now, I don't know if it was intended to be a similar pen to the Staedtler in their design, but they do both have the triangular barrel, and I personally find that to be very comfortable for drawing and coloring for long periods of time. just off of first impression on the shape of the pen, I'm going to say that I prefer the Maped one. It has more of a pointed edge to it rather than being rounder. So you actually feel like you're gripping into the triangle shape that many of us hold our pen. Now I know there are some people who hold theirs like this, and this might not be comfortable for them that way, but for myself, with the resting on the finger like this feels really good. You know, don't get me wrong, I do still enjoy the way this feels, but the shape feels like it fits better in that little pocket that you create when you do your pen holding. All right, so red. Let me zoom in a little bit on the chart there. All right, so here's our section, and we're just going to do a couple of straight lines, see how thick we can get, and then we're going to do a bit of coloring. Quick version to begin with, and more of a controlled, saturated version, I guess you could say, for the next piece. All right. Now let's see what that looks like on the back, if there's any bleed through. Okay, I do see a little bit of shadowing right here on where I was saturating the coloring. You can just barely see it right there by my thumb. It's not bad. And like I said, this is cardstock paper. All right, let me write Staedtler on here. So we have 2 lines, a tip, which is about the same, a quick coloring. Now I don't know if it's because my Staedtlers aren't as new as the Maped, but it does feel like the color filled in better as I went along with the Maped. Whereas you can see here I'm getting a little bit of gap. And like I said, it might be because I've had my Staedtlers a little while and they're not as juicy. But it might be that the pen themselves just aren't as juicy as the Maped. Okay, now as you can see, the Staedtler's red has a little bit more orange hue to it. Alright, just a slight. Both very nice colors of red. Alright, and as far as bleed through, I do not see, it should be right here, but I do not see the shadowing like I have here on the Maped. And that's probably because the pen, like I said, didn't seem, you know, as juicy. Alright, our next section is orange. And I'm just going to continue on with each of these colors real quick. Same thing. Now, as I get to the yellow, I want to point one thing out. I purchased my set from Target, and when I got home and started using my Staedtlers, my tip on my yellow one was all messed up. It seemed like someone had jammed it into thing, and it was splayed out like an old paintbrush. So the little tip wasn't solid feeling anymore. And I wrote the company, and they sent me out a replacement pen with no problems whatsoever. So if you do purchase a pen set and discover that one of your pens seems to have not been made properly, make sure you write the company and ask for some sort of replacement. They're going to usually be pretty good about providing you, you know, something new, because they want you to be happy, of course. They wouldn't expect you to spend good money on a set of pens and not be able to use one of the colors because there's something wrong with it. The tip on the Maphead product seems to be, you know, you can tell when you're using different kinds of pens. The tip feels a little bit more felt pen, if that makes any sense. So it's a I'm not sure the word I want to use. Let's see again on the green. Maybe I can figure out the word I'm wanting. I'm gonna say, for lack of a better word, scratchy. It's not like irritating scratchy, but I do think the Staedtlers have a smoother glide across the paper. Now, one thing that Staedtler mentions in their pens is it says dry safe. It says it can be left uncapped for days without drying up. And it says that directly on their packaging, right there. Now, I have never attempted that because I don't want to ruin my pens. Let's see what's on the Maphead pens. Oh, also would like to add that the Maphead is a 0.4 millimeter, whereas the Staedtler is a 0.3 millimeters. So it's one slight difference in size, but as you can see from the different lines, it's not that obvious. I do not see anything on here other than it's an easy grip, soft, precise, and sharp point. So I don't know on that one. The packaging contains many different languages on the Mapheads because they're sold in lots of different countries. I'm not sure, so I don't know about leaving it out to dry up, but I'm not planning on testing that. As a person who has problems with grasping things to open, like a jar and some pens, pulling these caps off has not been a problem. I do have a slight bit of arthritis, I think, in this digit here, which is, you know, one of the ones you really need to hold the cap. Now that particular blue came up pretty dark for a blue. I'm just going to put a little bit of this other blue near it to see what the difference is. See, that's got a little bit more turquoisey green look to it. Yeah, it seems like the Staedtler's a little lighter in the blue. Now, I'm going for purple now, and the only purple in here is this one, as you can see. Okay, so that's the only one I have to compare. The purple in the Staedtler is this one. So I don't know if the pen cap's going to give you any indicator in the change of purple, But the Maped one might be a considerable lighter purple. We'll see here. And it is. So I think it would be a good idea if there was a couple of shades of purple in here, not just this one. Now, as you can see there, as I went along, I managed to scuff up a chunk of the paper with the pen, and that might be because they're nice and juicy. Could be that my paper is horrible. Okay, so this is what I would think of it more as purple when I'm doing my coloring. I do like the Maped purple. I think it would be nice, like I said before, I think it would be nice if there was more than one shade. Now, I didn't get that scuffy thing going on where I pulled up a piece of paper when I did the 3 layers on that Staedtler. So I'm not sure what that's about. And then we're going to go on to black and see how that looks. And lastly, the Staedtler black. Okay, so for comparison here, we have red, orange. Red are a little different. Orange are really, really close. Yellow, I think, is pretty much the same yellow. Green, the Staedtler seems to be just a tiny bit darker. Blue, I think that the Maped blue has a little bit more, it's a darker blue than the Staedtler's blue. Now, obviously the opposite for the purple. The Maped purple is a lighter version of purple, whereas Staedtler's is darker. And it seems to be that the black is pretty much the same. Alright, let's check the bleed through on those. And I don't know about you, but I really can't see a whole lot of... You can just see some slight shadowing. I'm having problems with the focus because there's nothing for the camera to see. You can just barely see the colors through the paper. Now, that may not necessarily be bleed through. It might just be, or shadowing, it might just be because the, you know, you can see it because it's white. Alright, onto the marker page. I'm not going to go through every single color on the marker page in this video. I will just do, let's do the orange. And then I'll come back and finish the chart off later, off screen. So we need to put Staedtler in here. Alright. What do I have? Staedtler. And on these ones, I'm just going to do a block of color. Alright, I went over that about 3 times. And then Maped. Alright, let's see. Okay, I'm going to test this real quick. I was able to smear the Staedtler. I'm not able to smear the Maped. So I do believe the Maped pen dries faster, you know, soaks into the paper on this particular paper quicker. I didn't think to test that on the cardstock. And neither one of them really had any bleed through. But of course, because this paper is a lighter weight paper, you are definitely going to have shadowing, but no bleed through. All right, we don't need the watercolor one. So now onto the coloring pages. Let's get the page out. This one has nice tiny lines, so we can compare how easy or difficult it is to get in there. And let's go with a color we haven't used yet. Let's use this nice pink that Maped has. And then for Staedtler's pink, we will use this one. All right, where am I at? Okay, so we'll start with part of it coloring the bigger boxes, and then we'll use part of it for coloring the lines in between. Now what I'm wanting to know is if there's any feathering issues when you're doing this tiny work. And on this particular coloring book, I want to see if it bleeds through the paper. This paper is lighter than cardstock. And that's important because for myself, I like coloring with markers, so I usually get paper that's one-sided because many of the times your marker will bleed through and then your picture on the opposite side is no longer usable. I will get a Secret Garden book out at some point and show you how it works on those. Their paper in those is different than any of the other coloring books, and from what I understand, it handles Staedtler's really well, so it should probably handle these Maped pens really well as also. Alright, so we have the 4 V's there. We do see that it does bleed through. This feels kind of like a copy paper coloring page. Alright, so I did not have any feathering out in the ink on the front. Now let's see how well I can get into these tiny little spots if I were wanting to have the big V's be white. Now when you're getting into these smaller spaces, because the tip can only handle so tiny, I did have, you can see a little bit of outside the lines there. I don't necessarily think that was feathering, I think that was me. So you're going to do really well with these itty bitty spaces. Those spaces are actually, I think, smaller than the tip of the pen, if you can see that. So you just have to be very, very precise if you're going to go in between. Alright, now we're going to check the Staedtler on the same line and do some V's here. Okay, a little bit different color. That's okay. Alright, and you can see how that turned out. I had a little bit of boo-boo on that last one. I got off the line just a tiny bit. And the bleed through on the Staedtler is about the same. Alright, now into those tiny spots. I'm going to skip this one because it looks like whoever drew it has a little funky spot there. And there we have it. There's the lines for each of them. Woo, let's go a little farther there. They both worked really well. Even with the one of them is a little bit bigger than the other apparently. They're both doing really well in these extremely tight drawing spaces. I think I'm going to enjoy them equally well. Let me grab that Secret Garden book real quick. Now, Secret Garden is part of a set. Not really a set, but she's done several books. Secret Garden has, I'm not going to actually use it, it has a little bit different paper than the other two. The Enchanted Forest is considerably thicker than Secret Garden, and Lost Ocean is similar in paper as being thicker. Alright, so let me get to a page that, alright, I'm going to use the key section of the book just because as a test I don't want to find out that it will, you know, mess up the page. So let me zoom back out a little bit. Alright, so here is the test page This is like the chart where it shows you where all the little things are you're looking for. Lost Ocean, Johanna Basford. These are really neat, intricate books. The pictures are like this, lots of small details, perfect for these fine liner pens to get into all those little nooks and crannies. Look at that one there. So this is a really good book to test this on. So we're going to go ahead and use the black for this test, because that would be the darkest color you would ever use. And just one line, we'll call that Maped, and then we'll have a scribble section, because you never know if you need to go through and do a bit of scribbly. Full on coloring fill in. And then we have our Staedtler. Alright. So, on this particular paper that the not Secret Garden, it was Lost Ocean. This paper that Lost Ocean is on, you have slight shadowing, but no bleed through. Now, if I sat there and colored and colored and colored and colored in the same spot, yes, I'm going to get bleed through, but I went across that twice, was it? Which is plenty of coloring to fill the space that you need to, and there's your results. So I hope this review of this particular pen has given you some help in deciding what maybe you would like to purchase. So far I'm thinking these are a great product. The Maped is a few dollars cheaper than Staedtler. They're both great pens to use. I'm pleased with both of them. I think, like I said before, I would like if Maped had an additional purple in their line. Let's count real quick. We have orange and yellow, red. Mine jumps to 2 different shades of pink. So here we have, looks like 3 shades of pink, 4 maybe. I don't know if this is supposed to be a purple. It didn't come up purple. It came up pinkish. So then we have the purple. Then we have a light, medium, and a darker blue. It looks like Staedtler has 1 extra shade of blue going on. So they've traded out a pink for a blue. Greens, we have 4 shades of green within the Staedtler set. We have 5 greens in the Maped. And that can be really handy when you're doing foliage work. Nice assortment of greens. Then we both of them have a shade of brown, a light and a dark. Now, when you get to the gray, Maped has 1 gray where Staedtler has a light and a dark gray, so that's a nice addition. and then of course the black. So I guess you could use, whether you need more variety in gray or more variety in purple or more variety of green, to make your choice on which one of these products you would prefer to have. I still, like I said before, I still love that this is a double stacked packaging, and it makes it more you know, packaging friendly for stuffing in a bag or something. This one would work really nicely in a flap on a notebook, maybe, if you had one of those. This works pretty good for, it works nicely in this binder here, you know. So, you know, it depends on what you like. This is a nice sturdy hard case, while this is a like a vinyl kind of thing, which, you know, works really well. A nice little snap here to keep shut. This one keeps shut with some, you have to press it on the edges to get the little click thing there. Alright, so that's my review so far on fine liner style fine point pens. Thank you for watching. If you're not already a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button down below, and you can see future reviews of other pens and how they work in coloring in some of my coloring books that I have. If you are a company that would like to send me a pen or coloring book to use in my reviews, you can find an address for me in the top and the bottom, in the header or the description box. There's also an email address in the description box if you want to write and ask if I already have that. Please feel free to comment, ask me any questions you have. If there's something that I did not do or you want to see in addition to what's in this video, let me know and I will see what I can do for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.